Good morning, Twitch. I am getting the last few things set up for this morning's stream, so if you could bear with me for just a second. I know I only have a second, so just a second's all I really need. Just queuing up a few things for today's tutorial broadcast. Alright, so what are we going to be talking about today on Twitch? Well, this is Docs Week! Yeah! So what is Docs Week? Hashtag Docs Week. It is our launch of tutorials from Twilio. And that is some exciting stuff that we are working on this week to show off the fantastic new thing that our developer educators shipped at the beginning of this week, which is a whole set of tutorials that you can use to go from zero to a fully designed and full-featured production-ready application, sample application, in whatever the tools that you're looking for to build with, whether that be Ruby. We saw some two-factor auth from Phil and Greg yesterday. Some awesome streams on that yesterday from those two, one on PHP and one on Ruby on Rails, to show how to do two-factor auth in those languages and frameworks. And what we're going to be doing today is actually taking a look at something we've been taking a look at a lot on this stream lately, which is iOS development and, in fact, building chat applications. A thing that we've done a few times. I think we've gone from zero to hero, mostly zero to hero on chat in here a few times. But usually when we're doing chat in here, just because the applications are a bit larger in the mobile world, we don't typically go from scratch, and we're not going to go from scratch today either, because the application that this tutorial walks through is so fantastic, in fact, that it is, I would consider, a fully designed, fully implemented chat application. It is missing a few features that we would like to add, but for the most part, if you needed to add chat to your application, you could do that with this application for sure. I'm just going to pour myself some coffee. I'm still getting set up, still letting a few people trickle in so that we have some viewers before we get started. We'll just let that roll over while we're waiting, while we're kind of getting set up and warmed up here. I'll show you what tutorials look like. So this is the tutorial. And the tutorials are at twilio.com/docs/tutorials. The one, let's take a look at what that page looks like. Let's do this in order. Take a look at what that page looks like. So we've got, inside of Docs, we have a whole host of tutorials. I think there's something like 19 use cases and over 100 different implementations of these different things that we can build. Some of the ones to call out, like I said, two-factor authentication. Yesterday we had Phil and Greg show us how to add two-factor authentication to our PHP Laravel apps and our Ruby on Rails applications. Those were awesome. Those were fantastic streams. But today we're gonna be talking about iOS. I just wanted to call out some of the other ones that are really awesome. There's a masked phone numbers tutorial there, and there is a blog post that went out yesterday about that masked numbers tutorial, and that's what you want to use if you need to add secure communication for your users. So think of Uber and Airbnb and those sorts of apps where they have drivers or they have hosts, and these people all have phone numbers, and you as a potential tenant or rider or whatever the relationship may be, you also have a phone number, and I'm pretty sure that in most cases neither you nor them want to actually share that contact information out. So that's what masked phone numbers does for you. It will allow you to keep both parties' contact information hidden in the process of communication. Backing up just a little bit, now that we have a few people joining, I should introduce myself. I am Brent Schooley. I'm a developer evangelist at a company called Twilio. We are a developer platform for connecting the people you care about using the languages, tools, and frameworks that you're already using in the applications that you're already building. We do that in a variety of ways. One of them is text messaging. One of them is voice calling. And more to the point today, that is chat. So we have text-based chat and video chat applications that you can build with the SDKs that we provide for iOS, Android, and JavaScript. So a whole host of different things that you can add. So like I said, that's the tutorials. There's a whole bunch of tutorials here that you can go through. The one that we're working through is the one all the way down at the bottom, and that is IP chat. And we are working in Swift, but you'll notice there are tutorials for web languages. So you could do the web-based version for C#, Java, Node, PHP. And then also the iOS versions, both in Objective-C and Swift, and the Android, which is in Java. We are going to focus in on the tutorial for iOS using Swift. I just noticed I have one other thing that's not running here that I need, which will update that latest follower. And the latest follower that we picked up, I believe, yesterday during one of, I believe it was during Phil's stream. These are in the later days. I wanted to call out the last few followers that we had. We had Jay Wombles, ID Eric, or Ideric, and rframe5 were the last 3 followers that hopped in yesterday, and they actually followed me during another member of our team's stream, which was Greg Bogus. In fact, if you are looking for more programming tutorials after this one today, you can find all of us at twitch.tv/team/Twilio. Find some of our other fantastic streamers and toss them a follow as well. And like this morning, you will know when they go live. Anyways, let's dive in. Since we're about 10 minutes in, we're starting to establish a small but noticeable viewer base. So let's do this. We'll hop into this iOS IP chat Swift tutorial, and what I think we should probably do first is what I would recommend for these tutorials is before you get rolling, first, read what the thing's going to do. See if it is the use case that you in fact want. In this one, IP chat, being able to chat with customers and employees is becoming more and more important in this fast-paced market. With Twilio's IP Messaging API, you can quickly build out custom chat functionality, enabling your business to interact with customers, coordinate teams, and create a custom communications platform. In this quick tutorial, we'll show you a simple web application that allows anonymous users to instantly join and create their own channels. So not only are we building a simple, easy to use, easy to build chat application, it's also full featured. So if you've done the quick start, or if you've seen me do the quick start on here, we've never come anywhere close to touching allowing people to join and create channels. So that's new for this stream for sure. And that's pretty awesome. That's totally a feature that you would want to have inside of your chat applications. So I'm happy to see that the tutorial supports some more advanced things like creating and joining channels. So that's what we're going to do. So we're building a chat application, a well-designed chat application that allows people to connect, join channels, and talk to each other. So we said it's a platform that allows people to connect and talk together. So that's awesome. How about we do the next step? So after you've read the tutorial and you've seen whether this is the tutorial for you, the next thing that I recommend is that you go and check that project on GitHub. Just another sanity check. You know, maybe this sounds good, but you go and check the GitHub repo. So we have this get the code. You can download the source directly as a zip, or you can go to GitHub and view the source there. But I highly recommend that you go and actually check that repo and make sure that it's the language and things that you were expecting it to be. Nothing worse than getting to the project, stepping through the tutorial, and realizing that you've actually started the PHP one when you meant to do the Rails one. I know Phil would have been disappointed yesterday if he did that. So We are looking at the right one. This is Twilio Chat Swift. That's what we expected. It's the Swift implementation of Twilio Chat. This comes from our lovely friends on the developer education team who built this entire tutorial system. And it looks like a pretty standard iOS project. I can see that we're using CocoaPods by the existence of this pod file here. And then we've got a README that tells us what we can do to get this working. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get this Twilio Chat into our Twitch demos area of my machine. Oh, sure, check for updates. Why not? Yeah, I figured it wouldn't work. Never works. I've got this bug with Z Shell, or with OMI Z Shell, where it has unstaged changes, and there's a workaround that fixes it for like one version, and then it comes back. So I think I'm due for a reinstall of everything related to Z Shell and OMI Z Shell. If anybody knows what that particular bug is and has some recommendations on how to get rid of it, I would love to not have that ever happen again. But it's pretty much once an update at this point. So we are going to my projects / Twitch streams. Clear out again. And I don't think I've done this one yet. So yeah, we haven't done this one yet, so there shouldn't already be a Git repo for this project. So let's clone Twilio Chat into our Twitch demo area, and hopefully we won't have any Git problems today. Frequent visitors of the stream know that this last time I was heavily using Git, things went wrong. So we're not actually going to heavily use Git. That's okay. We don't need to. Okay, so we have cloned. And that was step one. Clone the repo. CD into it. That's another thing that I've done wrong in the past on here. We want Twilio Chat Swift. And then what's it say? Run pod install. So pod install, if you're not familiar, this actually gives you a link right here to what CocoaPods is. CocoaPods is a dependency manager for Swift and Objective-C projects. Tons and tons of libraries that you can easily add to your project just by adding them to something called a pod file. A pod file looks like this. So you can add these different pods. Where you have pod, we can see some things from this pod file that will give us a hint to the future as we're going to look at the project. So we're using AlamoFire. AlamoFire is an HTTP client for Swift that makes it really easy for you to make HTTP requests from your Swift code, not have to use the sort of heavy-handed API that Apple provides for networking. SW Reveal View Controller. Let's take a look at what that is. So these are the kinds of things I recommend when you're looking at a project for the first time. When you head to GitHub and you look at a project for the first time, what does the project use? Does it have any dependencies that you might not have heard of before? And go and actually look at these pods and look for them, see what they do. And in fact, look for them in Swift in case there's a Swift version of them. And we see when we search for that, we get a tutorial from appcoda.com. So we've learned a few things. One, we know that it's for creating sidebar menus. And two, one thing that I think is really interesting when you Google around the web is that the tutorials with the most action are going to float towards the top. And that's not by coincidence. That's because people are linking to them, people are visiting them, they have a lot of traffic, which means we've now learned a resource. We've learned appcoda.com must have some decent tutorials. So we go to appcoda.com. That or they're gaming the system. But in fact, this time it's because they have some decent tutorials. And if we hop in there, we'll see that they're building an entire sample for doing these slide out menus. So I guess our Twilio Chat application must have a slide out menu. Reasonable assumption considering that we're going to be managing channels, and the best place to manage channels is to have a place to put them, and the slide out menu is typically where that's going to go. If you've used anything like Slack before, Slack uses, I believe, either this same control or something that they wrote in-house that's exactly the same as this control. But why reinvent the wheel when that's there? So that was SW Reveal Controller. Slack Text View Controller. Veterans of this stream will notice Slack Text View Controller. can be found on GitHub under Slack HQ. Yes, this does come from Slack. It's not modeled after Slack. This was built by Slack to be a text view controller for chat applications, and we've used it before. I have a blog post called Designing Chat Applications, Designing iOS Chat Applications in Swift that you can find on Twilio, twilio.com/blog. You can look up Swift tutorials, or you can probably follow the link that Phil Nash will put into the chat for that blog post. But that's the Slack text view controller that we will be using inside of the Twilio chat application. Cool. And then the rest of these, I guess I didn't show Alamo Fire, so let's look at a few things. So Slack rose to the top here for this particular Slack text view controller object. You'll notice that their GitHub gets a lot of activity, so we know it's a popular project. And then we see getting started with Slack text view controller from Xamarin. So if you're a Xamarin user, there is a binding and a set of instructions for getting Slack text view controller to work in your Xamarin applications. And then the next one on the list is designing chat applications for iOS using Swift from Twilio. So again, the tutorials often bubble to the top. You can trust this one. I wrote it. It's pretty good. It's not because I wrote it that it's pretty good, but it's because the entire team that I work with reviewed it, and it's been looked at a lot. We got the backing of a team review. We got the backing of a bunch of people that have gone through it and say that it works. So that's a good place to start. I'll just click on it and you can see what it looks like. But that's we're adding some of the features in here that we've done in the past into this application. I think we'll do the typing indicator that's at the beginning of this GIF when we get there. So anyways, pod install, that's the next on our hit parade. So we've looked through the project, we've seen what's in the project that we might not know about. The rest of this stuff says Twilio, so I'm going to assume that that's coming from Twilio. And in fact, IP Messaging client is our chat SDK, and Twilio common is some common code that our different SDKs share. So those are both coming from Twilio. And we can safely, at this point, run pod install because we know what the dependencies were from this project. We know where to find them on the internet. We've even seen some tutorials that show how to use them. So I feel like these are good dependencies that we can roll with and run right into our application. So while we're waiting for the pods to install, well, I guess we're not waiting for the pods to install. They're installing right now. So you can see it goes out and fetches the pod spec for these ones because they come from the not default repo. And then it installs them, brings them into the project, generates a pods project. So if you've used Xcode before, you might have used a project and you'd have a single project. In a CocoaPods project, you will have multiple projects because you will have the source code for the original project, and then you'll have a pods project that manages the CocoaPods dependencies for your particular project. Cool. So we can see if we do another list of this directory that this new XC workspace was created. That XC workspace is in fact what I was just talking about. That houses the two projects. This Xcode project that we had before, and the pods project that can be found inside of this pods directory. So we'll open up the Twilio chat XC workspace file, and that's going to open up Xcode into that project, and we'll go from there. Here's that pods project I was talking about. That's where the pod file gets chucked, so if you needed to add different pods later, this is where they would go. So that's cool. That's some new things within this project structure that weren't there before. And then our Twilio chat project up at the top is where the source code for our application is going to go. So if we peel down under the Twilio chat folder, you can see that we've got quite a bit of files going on here. What I'm going to do in the short term is head back to the repo because I think we've got another step that we need to do before we can see if things are working. So open the project with Xcode, but don't use the Xcode project. You got to use the XC workspace. That's what we did. Okay, Twilio's IP messaging client requires an access token generated by your Twilio credentials in order to connect. First, you need to set up a server that will generate this token for the mobile application to use. So there's a bunch of these different ones here. I believe that I already have the PHP one locally on my machine. So we'll use that one. I believe that is in my Twilio quick start servers folder. Yeah, so I think it's this Twilio chat one here. Let me just see. That's not it actually. Let me see where I put that. I believe I downloaded that to... We may have to do that one from scratch. It's going to require me to hide the screen for a sec. I'm hoping we don't have to do that. I know I was running this the other day. I think I was doing it on a different machine, so we might need to do this. Let's do it for sake of argument anyways. PHP Laravel. We will open. I will have to briefly hide the screen in a second when I edit the keys for getting this thing to work. But let's take a look at what one of these looks like. We'll do the Laravel version. Actually, do I have Laravel here? I may not. Yep, I do. So we've got Composer. That's good. We're in Quick Start servers. That's good. We'll do this. Let's clone this repo out. Might as well follow everything to a T, huh? This is what you're going to have to do when you build it, so I might as well show you what it is. So we are going to clone the repository. And then we will go into it and then see what it says to do here. So we want to run Composer, install. Development build is over 60 days old. Interesting. So I would update that, but it looks like things have worked there. They brought in the Twilio SDK. I'm in the GH branch now. I was in I was inside of my quick start servers folder. That's why. That's like, I think that's Z Shell's default for when it doesn't know a branch, as it says it's in the GH pages branch. I'm actually in master. So that's that. Let's see. Composer install. Then we need this environment file. So this, I want to do cp.env.example to .env, and this is where I'm probably going to have to hide here in a second. I'm going to pull up another quick start server that already has those keys, so I can do that with swiftness. So that's in projects Twilio quick start servers / video quick, or no, IP messaging quick start. So I would use the default IPM quick start, but it doesn't allow for you to log in with a custom name. So we have to use this Twilio chat one. And then here I have a file called config.php that has my keys that I need to put into this .env file. So I am going to Adam.env. I'll show you what the file looks like. Oh wait, that's not the right folder. That's this one, Adam.env. So that's what this file looks like, and you can see that it wants me to put in my Twilio account SID. It wants me to put in a Twilio API key. It wants me to put in a Twilio API secret, and it wants me to put in a Twilio IP messaging service ID, and we can find all of those things in our Twilio dashboard. But because I don't want you to see any of that stuff, I am going to temporarily hide the screen while I punch those in. So 1 second, we will briefly hide the screen, and I will complete the rest of this. I am generating a PHP artisan key so that I can throw that into the app key section. And then I am going to pull from that other sample. I'm pulling from my config.php file that I have locally to grab the account SID. throw that into our file, and then I need to grab the service ID and put that in a field, and then I need the Twilio API key and the API secret. Bear with me one more second, and then we'll have this API key and the IP messaging secret. I need to have like dancing cats or something over there while this is going on. Okay, so I've edited that file. We can bring the screen back here. Let's do that. Bring in the Elgato capture. And I showed them anyways. Wow, I'm pretty good today. Cool. I will blip that out of the recording somehow. Anyways, we'll just update those keys. They're not super important. I can clear them out. We are cool. So we got the keys set up. And show them again, why don't you? Let's just hide for one more second. Let's stop showing keys. That's ridiculous. Can't believe I did that not once, but twice. Alright, we're back. So, I've done that in the last two. Yeah, it's a problem with this stuff. I don't have a second machine, or a second screen, like a lot of you guys do, in my setup. I could probably have pulled that up. Now, there's no other way I could have pulled that up the way it is. Be smart, kids. Don't give away your keys. I don't have those in environment variables because I haven't really needed to do that in the past. We'll clear those out later. It's like used for this one particular example, and it's not a huge deal right now. We only have, I think, like 4 viewers in here, and I suspect at least 1 or 2 of those are from Twilio, so it's not a big deal. At this point, I will probably have to do something before things go live on YouTube later, so that those keys are not valid. So if you're watching this later, don't use those keys. They're not going to work. The only thing that is valid is my account SID, and frankly, you can't do anything with that if you don't have the other credentials, so we're still good to go. Alright, so what now? If we look back at the repo again, I generated this app key. I brought all of these settings in from my Twilio account, and now we can run PHP artisan serve. So hopefully that'll work. Oh boy, what did I do? Oh, Certison. That's not right. Artisan serve. So local development server started on localhost 8000. That's fun, but not fun enough because you can't reach localhost, and if you can't reach localhost, nobody's iPhone can reach localhost. So we'll use ngrok to create a HTTP tunnel on port 8000, and we will give that a subdomain of Brent, because I am Brent, and that will allow us to access this chat application via brent.ngrok.io. We'll use the HTTPS link for that, and if I throw that into my browser, we can see the web version. Oh man, we are not getting very good CSS on that today. What's up with that? Do I have a permissions issue, or what's going on with that? Or is that Chrome? What is going on? That is not good. I am wondering if that's an HTTPS local thing. Yeah. Okay. Don't go to HTTPS. I was trying to be nice and secure, but locally on the machine, HTTPS is not serving up the images and the CSS correctly, so don't go there. But if you want to participate right now, head to http brent.ngrok.io, and you can type in a username. I will say Brent Web in this case, since we also are going to be doing some iOS work, and hit enter, and you'll notice some things in this web application. I'm connecting to an old chat instance so that we can see a bunch of different things here, like the timestamps and the usernames and the messages that were sent. And I can say, hi from Brent-Web. And that's me, and it says today, and it's highlighted because of me. And you can create channels over here. So I can create a Twitch stream channel, and that's cool. And I can delete channels. So if I created that one, I could come up here and I could delete that. You can see when people joined and leave channels here as well. So there's a lot of events. There's a lot of different things going on in this web version of this chat application. And that's cool. So you get that as part of going through this tutorial just out of the box. But then we also, okay, so we don't need this anymore. This talks about the ngrok thing and how you can get that set up. And we did that. Now we can head back to our Swift application and see what it wants us to do next to get that up and running before we take a look at how the tutorial is structured. Sound good? If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to stop me and ask me, hey Brent, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Can you explain that last step or whatever? Whatever the case may be, if you want to give me a shout if you see something that isn't quite right. Awesome. Can't join the IPM web chat at the moment. That's not good. If we can't get... Oh, no, there's Phil Nash. He joined it. What are you talking about, Phil? You're right there. Right there. I see you. Let's just say hi to Phil. Hi, Phil. It's working in Chrome. Well, that's cute. Not working in Firefox, then? What's up with that? Let's try it. Non-HTTPS. Man, it's working here. I'll do Brent Firefox. We'll just make a bunch of me. Hey, from Firefox. What's up, Phil? What's up with Phil Fox? We got some problems with Phil Fox going on. Yeah, I don't know what's up with your Firefox, Phil. That's a bummer. I know what's going on. I know one thing that's going on here. We need to hop into my dashboard and we need to update my stream title. My stream title's not right, is it? I mean, it's cute. It's from the other day when we launched, but it's not accurate to what we're doing today. And that's not good. That's no good. So let me update my stream title real quick. So that it more accurately reflects what we're building, so that people that are just casually browsing through on Twitch can see that we are building something cool, which is a chat application. We'll just throw this in here, and we will call this Swift, and then we will update that so we can see that we are building a chat app with Swift using Twilio IP Messaging, not some tutorial launch hype. We already did that. That was fun, but we're done with that. We are currently about to get into the iOS chat application, so let's do that. That's one last step in the hit parade that I missed. All right, so we have gotten this up and running. Did I close the right repo? Yeah, I closed the right repo. Okay, so project root, Twilio chat, resources, keys.plist. Where might that be? So that's in here under resources. There's this keys.plist file. We open that up, and this is a standard Xcode plist file. And what we want here is to specify that the token URL for requesting our token, I believe I can get the token from HTTPS, and we need that on a device, brent.ngrok.io. ngrik, I don't think ngrik is going to work. We'll do ngrok.io. And that's letting our iOS application know that it should fetch the token for our application. Oh no, you might need to restart all the things at least twice to make one program work. Yeah, I mean, you would think, given how much trouble we had last night, that I would have had an absolute nightmare with XSplit today. But we happened to get lucky today and not have any XSplit problems to this point. Now that I said that, of course, we might have some problems, but so far so good. Everything seems to be pretty good. Yeah, I'm a little mad when things don't work right for things that should work. Yeah, you fixed it for me. Yeah, we had some problems. Amber can tell you in the chat. We'll go some chat activity, but She did a D&D group last night, and XSplit and everything in this machine seemed to just not work, like numerous times. So that was fun. So we've updated our keys.plist file. Somewhere in the application, when it's going to make an HTTP request, it's going to need a token. What these tokens do, I think the tutorial will tell us. Let's just see if this thing works before we head to the tutorial and see how it works. We'll see if it works before we see how it works. How's that? I'm going to fire this up on an iPhone 5S and see what it looks like. Compiling storyboard files, build succeeded, always good. Pull up the simulator, move it over here, come back to our chat application over here in the browser. Notice that's responsively designed. I don't want it to trigger the responsive though, so let's go there. Cool. Like I said, this is a well-designed application. So we've got images and colors and nice fonts and all those sorts of things that you might expect from an application that has been developed to be production ready. So that's what we're doing. Phil is saying hello to the phone app. I haven't launched the phone app yet, so that's not going to do anything. But I'm going to say I am Brent. I guess I have to actually type it. Let's connect the hardware keyboard. Connect hardware keyboard. Virtual keyboard goes away, and I can finish typing. Brent, iOS, log in. Hopefully I haven't screwed the view controller system up here. Nope, there it is. And there's Phil's message from today at 9:36 a.m. local time that tells me that things are working here. And you can see over in the web application that Brent iOS joined this particular channel. If I open up the drawer, I can see that Twitch stream channel. So if we go into the Twitch stream channel here and I click on Twitch stream inside of the iOS application, we'll get the notification over here that Brent iOS joined the channel. And if we click this button here, now I didn't know what this button did when I went through the tutorial. You won't either, but I think what this does is it leaves the channel. This is not the right icon for leaving a channel. This is the share icon, or this is the like open in or like other actions kind of button for iOS. So I would think when I click that, I would get the little pop-up from the bottom that says some stuff, and that's not what happens here. It actually just jets us out of the channel. So that's a thing that we would probably need to fix. I don't think that's a good thing to have in that application. Like, that's the wrong icon. So we should probably tell the developer education team to get that one fixed, so we can do that later. But for now, we will chug along. We can also create channels in here. So we've got this channel button down below. We can give it a name. We can call this the iOS channel. So it's only for us iOS people. And then that creates this iOS channel. And you saw it pop up over in the web browser. We can join it. We can join it over here. We can see that Brent Webb joined. We can say, hi, Brent Webb. What are you doing in the iOS channel? You're a browser. So cool. Everything there works. The enter key on the keyboard worked to send the message. So things are pretty well designed over in this iOS application. I like that. That's very, very, very nice. And that's cool. So we know that this works. So I said, let's check if it works before we check how it works. So we've done everything that I think we need to do to get set up and see where the project is, how it works, sort of how it's structured. We haven't done a whole lot with that structure yet, but we know where to grab it from GitHub. We know how to build it. We know that building it works. We know that it's able to chat like it says it's supposed to. And we are able to have a conversation with our browser fairly easily there. So that's cool. Everything is up and running. Let's now do the key part of this particular exercise, which is to take a look at the new tutorials from Twilio. So I read to you what this tutorial is supposed to do. I never did get around quite yet, because we were trying to make sure everything was working, to what tutorials actually look like. So this is pretty awesome. Tutorials from Twilio is a code first. So we'll explain what that means in a second. But it's a code focused, code first way to go from scratch to a full production ready application. Took a look at the developer education team, took a look at how people use documentation, and they found that most of the time when developers use documentation, they find the first bit of code that they can find within that document, and they just paste it straight into their project and try to get it to work. So they're always looking for the code. They're not actually looking for the narrative in the documentation. They want to see what the code is, they want to see how it's supposed to work, and they want to get it into their application as fast as possible. So we figured that building tutorials around this concept where the code is first, and we just saw that the code is first. We went and found the code in the repo, we brought the repo onto our local project, we built it, and we saw it work. And as we're going through the tutorial, the narration is still there. We still need some pros to tell us what's going on in each step of the tutorial. But you'll notice over here that most of the screen is being taken up by code that represents the current step in the tutorial, and all of the files that are relevant in the tutorial at that time. Other things that you have access to at any point in the tutorial is the link to the code on GitHub in case you haven't brought it down to your machine yet. It's always right there for you to be able to do that very easily. You notice that you're able to go into full screen. You're always able to get out of full screen right here at the bottom. And then you'll have access on every single step to documentation that comes from both from Twilio and from the rest of the developer ecosystem. So if we're talking about iOS and there's a specific iOS control or feature that we're using that you might need to know more about, there's going to probably be a link in the C also for it. But let's walk through this tutorial and see how the tutorial shows you how this project works. So we're ready to implement a chat application using Twilio IP Messaging. Here's how it works at a high level. So Twilio IP Messaging is the core product we'll be using to handle all the chat functionality. We use a server-side application. We saw that. We're using PHP and Laravel to do that, to generate user access tokens that contain all of the Twilio account information. And we use that token, the client, the Twilio chat IP messaging client, uses that token to connect to the API for IP messaging. And Twilio Common, which we also saw when we looked at the pod file, is the part of the SDK that handles access tokens and even refreshes them when they expire. So that was that common layer of code that our SDKs share, and a lot of that is for token management. So we can see the number of steps that we're going to go through. And we can navigate through the steps with this little navigator up here at the top. You can go forward and back at any time. What I want you to pay attention to as I begin to navigate is what happens over here. When I click next, notice that the code zoomed to a particular location within the IP messaging manager.swift file. And what it's talking about here is the only thing we need to create a client is an access token. So we know that the goal here is to create an access token. This token holds information about your Twilio account and IP messaging API keys. We have created a web version of Twilio chat in different languages, and we have actually created one right here on this stream by going and grabbing this PHP Laravel project and running it locally. There are also implementations of this in C# for ASP.NET MVC. There's a servlets version for Java, and there's a Node.js version. So whatever your server framework of choice here is, we have most of them covered at this point. And then it says we're going to use AlamoFire to make a request to our server and get the access token. So if we take a look here, we can see what AlamoFire looks like. We didn't do that earlier, but I just knew that the tutorial was going to tell us about it. So we go to AlamoFire. This is the elegant networking in Swift framework. Yeah, shame there's no Ruby version. I agree with you there, Phil. I'm sure that's coming soon. These guys have been working on a lot, and this is one of the fresh, newest Twilio tutorials they built. So I believe those other versions will be coming soon. We'll get there. So AlamoFire makes it really easy to make HTTP requests from your Swift applications. You can get it a variety of ways. Making a request is really easy. It couldn't be any more simple than saying AlamoFire request get and give it the URL that you want to get from. When the response comes back, you can handle it in JSON and work with it from there to grab it. And that's what our tutorial is saying that it is going to do. So it's saying connect the client, and what we want to do is request a token with completion. When the completion happens, we have a token back, and we can take the token and initialize the client with the token and load the general chat. There's a lot of other things happening behind the scenes, but in the tutorial, that's what the step is showing us. And what that allows us to do is to go over to the actual project and find those particular files. We're looking for IP messaging manager. And that's in the project under messaging, IP messaging manager, and we could look for this request token with completion. That would be one thing we could find in there. So we could go to there and see what that looks like. From there, we could jump to the definition to see what that looks like, and we find that what's going to happen as we continue to move through here is we can just dig further into how this is implemented. Request token with completion grabs the current device's identifier, and then also takes the username out of the session manager. So clearly, when we typed in the username at the beginning, it got stored in something called session manager, and then we can use that token. We use this to request the token. So token request handler is what actually makes the call using AlamoFire. Even though it doesn't show up here, it's pretty easy to dig to figure that out. We go into the method that's being shown here, request token with completion, and we jump to that definition. And here we can see what's going on. So we put in that in keys.plist, we put in a URL. If you remember, we put in a URL for our chat application's token endpoint. So we need to request a token from that URL. This is where it's loading it. So it's using NSBundle main bundle path for resource keys of type plist, and that was this keys.plist file underneath the resources, and that's cool. So that pulls in our file. Contents of file a path, so this is going to give us the list of keys inside of keys.plist, and the one that we care about here is the token request URL, and we're grabbing that out as a string. If that makes sense, if you're following along, let me know if that doesn't make sense. But basically here we're saying, give me the file, and we're saying if let, so we're making sure all of this works. So if we can set the file path to this keys.plist file path, and if we can create a dictionary out of that, if we can create a dictionary that contains the contents of the file from that file path, and if we can create, if we can grab out of that dictionary a string that represents the token request URL. So if we can set all three of these variables to a value that is not nil, then run the code inside of this block. So that's just the conditional binding, and this is the multiple patterns sort of way of doing that. So basically, this will only work if the file path leads us to this file, the dictionary created from the contents of that file is not nil, and there's a key in there called token request URL that actually returns a string. If all of that stuff happens, only then do we run the code inside of that block, which says make an AlamoFire request. We need to make a post request to the token request URL and pass in some parameters. And the parameters were passed into this. Those included I believe those included the device ID. We just saw that. That was the fetch token call. That included the device ID and the username that got passed in. And then we make that request. We validate that it was successful, that it was a successful response. And if it was, we look at the response as JSON. And in that, we take a look at the result. And if it was successful, then we take a look at running a completion here that passes in. Completion was passed in. So the completion was the block of code associated with the fetch token. So we'll go back to that in a second. But we pass in the dictionary of results that came back from that back to that block. And if we didn't have the keys.plist, we just return an error that says You didn't give me a token request URL. So if we roll back to where this fetch token was called, what we're looking for is the completion to run. So we passed in a block. We basically passed in a block that takes in a dictionary and an error and returns void. If we come back and take a look at that, here's where that block is. So there's the response, dictionary, and the error. And inside of that block, we create a token, and that token is the token that was passed back in that dictionary from the fetch token method. That's a lot. That's a lot to look at. But basically what that ends up doing is giving us the token that we can pass in to the completion. And we saw that here. We requested token with completion, and the completion was this right here. So the token came back in. We checked to make sure the token's not nil. If it was successful, and we then call initialize client with token and load general chat room with completion. So that all of that was the Alamo Fire code to request the token. It's a lot more code than, like, the concept's pretty simple, and the code is broken out across multiple files. You could do it in one file. The quick start shows you how to do that. But because this is a production ready application, there's a lot of separation of concerns. We have a session manager and that sort of thing that's keeping track of things that we can request from different areas of the application. So well-structured application. Things like token management and session management. We can take a look at that session manager real quick, but it keeps track of whether you're logged in and whether there's a username available, and a lot of defaults that it keeps around as well. So like things that you would require from multiple parts of the application. This also is going to save these out to the user defaults. So like if you came back later, your username and whether you were logged in is already saved and synchronized. So that's cool as well. Like I said, separation of concerns and all of that. What happens next? So the channel manager is going to take care of everything related to channels. So the first thing that we do when the class is initialized is store a list of channels of type TWM channel list that we get by calling the method channels list with completion from the IP messaging client. Once we have a TWM channel list, we can fetch the actual channels using the channel list method, load channels with completion. And once that operation finishes successfully, we call the all objects. We call the method all objects on that same object to get back an array of channels. So a lot of things going on in this one. This is channel manager. Again, we're trying to populate channels with completion. We load the channel list. So that's something that we can take a look at. Let's look at channel manager. Channel manager is under channels, channel manager.swift. And what this does here is it will do things like joining the general channel, which we saw happening before. So it's got to populate a list of channels, and it's going to look for the general channel in that list that comes back. And if it's there, it's going to join it. What we were looking at here was how the populate channels list works. So if we scroll down and take a look at that, load channel list with completion. Let's take a look at that. So what happens here is we use the IP messaging manager to request a channel list. So and that's calling it right off the client. So in the documentation, if you see the IP messaging client class, that is going to have a method called channel list with completion. When that comes back, we just set the channels list, and we can come up here and use that in the result to load our channels from the channel list, and set them and grab an array and store them in a sorted manner locally, and then we'd have a channel list. And with that channel list, we can take a look and see we can grab access to a particular channel, in this case the general channel, which is the first channel that anybody that joins will join. So we grab access to that channel by unique name, and the unique name in this case is general. And once we do that, we can join the general chat room if it exists. If not, we create it and then join it. So that's cool. next thing that we can take a look at, since we have channels now and we've seen a bit of how they work and where the different events come from, is listening to the client events, so things that happen in the chat client. So the IP messaging client triggers events such as channel added or channel deleted. In our application, given the event that a channel is deleted or created, we'll reload the channel list in the reveal controller. If a channel is deleted and we were currently joined to that channel, the application will automatically join the general channel. So there's some things that happen by default if there's no longer a channel that you were supposed to be logged into. And the channel manager is working as our Twilio IP messaging client delegate. And in this class, we implement the delegate methods, but we allow another class to be a delegate of the channel manager. So this class can listen to events too. So we have a couple classes in play here. We've got the channel manager, which is registering itself as a Twilio IP messaging client delegate. And it's handling a few events. So it's handling channel added, it's handling channel changed, and it's handling channel deleted off of this IP messaging client delegate. And then we set a delegate on channel manager to also listen in to things that are going on, and we call some messages on that. And that in this case is the, as this says, main chat view controller. So if we take a look at these two classes in action, we can see here that we have down below here the implementation for the IP messaging client delegate methods that can be called on this object. That's that channel added, channel changed, and channel deleted. And what we can do here, and also if there's anybody in the chat, please let me know where you are from and what types of things you're working on, what brought you to watch this tutorial today, anything like that. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the US. I believe it is going to be a nice sunny, about almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit day here. I know I've got some international viewers, so I should specify the unit on that temperature. 70 Celsius would be, well, death probably. 70 Fahrenheit. Nice, beautiful day. But let me know where you're from and why you're tuning in and sort of what you're working on. Phil is in London. Phil should let us know that he's from London. Okay, so when these methods get called, we're also calling something on our delegate. So what is our delegate? Our delegate is a Twilio IP messaging client delegate. So we're allowing death from the sun. Do you live in the desert? No, I don't. So somewhere we have a channel manager, and that channel manager is going to set a delegate to be like its instance of an IP messaging client. So that's what we're looking for here, and that I believe is in here under main chat view controller. And I believe we could find, if we search hard enough, we could see channel manager.delegate. Let's see, what do we call our channel manager here? Channel manager.shared manager. Okay, so it's probably going to be channel manager dot shared manager dot delegate. Maybe not. Let's see how this ends up getting set. Channel manager dot shared manager dot general channel. I wonder where that is getting set up. So somewhere this tutorial is telling us that the class can listen to events too. So this class can listen to events too. So we also allow another class to be a delegate of channel manager. So where is that getting set? Let's do a search. Channel manager dot shared manager, I believe, dot delegate. Oh, it's getting set. Let's see. It's getting set in the menu. So the menu is doing that on view did load. Let's go back to the main chat. Let's see if we can see where this happens. So we set the general channel. Oh, okay, so when we set the general channel to channel manager's general channel, I think that happens by default here. So this is going to end up listening to some events as well down below. Here it is, channel delegate. That's what I was looking for. So With this channel delegate, we can listen for, with this channel manager, we can listen for the events that the channel manager was sending in those different areas. And what that's going to give us is things like member joined and member left, message added, and that's going to give us the ability to do all those things that we saw before. All those things we saw happening, like people joining, people leaving, messages popping up, and all of that is happening from inside of these methods down below. Cool. Joining the general channel. So the application will try to join a channel called general channel when it starts. If the channel doesn't exist, we create one with that name. The scope of this example application will show you how to work with only public channels, but you can also create private channels and handle invitations if you like. You can dig into the documentation for how to do that. We're not going to do that here. But once you join a channel, you can register a class as the TWM channel delegate, so you can start listening to events such as message added or message joined. We'll show you how to do this in the next step. So I was getting ahead of myself by showing you the code for the channel events. But inside of Channel Manager, we have looked at join general chat room over there in depth. So we'll move to the next step, which is listening to channel events. We registered the main chat view controller as TWM channel delegate, and here we implemented the following methods that will listen to channel events. So we have message added, we have channel deleted, we have member joined, and we have member left, and they do exactly what they sound like they do. Each one of these methods includes useful objects such as parameters, or has parameters such as the actual object message that was sent to the channel. And that's cool. So we are able to do things like when a message is added. I think this one's added. Message added. So when a message is added to the particular channel, we can call this add messages. Let's see what that looks like. So add messages. Jump to definition. This one takes in an array, and this is inside of this chat service here. Add messages takes in an array of TWM, so that's the Twilio messaging prefix. TWM message takes in an array of messages. It unions itself with the new messages, and then it sorts them, and then it calls table view reload data. So that's cool. And it's going to scroll to the bottom after it adds those messages. That'll move whatever was just sent into view, regardless of whether the keyboard's shown or not. So that's cool. So that's add messages. So we get that on both. For both normal messages, which have just the text. Yeah. IDs are kind of nice. I'm wondering if I'm missing probably a shortcut key for that particular jump to definition. I bet Matt Mackay knows. He's pretty good with the keyboard shortcuts inside of Xcode. I just know where the things are in the pop-ups, and I don't typically do that too often in here. Command F is pretty awesome. There's some project-wide search things that you saw me do here. So we can do like main channel, or what was it, channel manager. I can see everywhere that channel manager is used in here, so that's pretty cool. I can search in the workspace, so I can see if there's anything in the other projects. There's a lot of things going on there, and there's ways to search different types, different ways, containing, matching with, definitions, references, regular expressions, call hierarchies, you name it. There's different ways to look for this stuff. I usually do text containing. Control Command J. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep, that's it. Thank you, Sharps, in the chat room for that assist. I need to have a point system. We're working on that. There's a couple bots out there that do this. We've put in an application to get DeepBot over here on this stream, and you can stay tuned for that. DeepBot is going to allow me to have a point system where you will earn points the longer you stay in the channel. So if you're a known user, and you stay in the channel for a length of time, you earn points while you sit around. I don't know what I'm going to call them yet, but you'll earn points. They'll probably be like bees or something like that. You'll earn points for sitting here, and once you get enough points, you can use them to do stuff. And I haven't decided what that's going to be yet, but I've seen some clever uses of that. A lot of people allow you to use those points to enter giveaways, or there's one guy called Strong Gamer that does it for a thing called Flex, where he has to do exercises if you spend enough points. So like we'll have a point system eventually, and I might be able to reward bonus points for things like what Sharps just did, which was telling me the key combination for a thing that I was right-clicking to get to. So he's saving me countless things. Yeah, Phil, I mean, I'll let you redeem points, but you're going to have to be able to redeem them for something that, you don't get an advantage for being a full-time moderator. You never know, though, if this stream catches on in time slots where you are not available. You never know. You might not be the winner. And I've seen Sharps here plenty of times, so, and I know because I have logs of this sort of thing. I know he's been around. So we'll see. We'll see who the king is around here once we have that point system, and that'll be fun. We should have this pretty soon. I can pay Phil in points. Yeah, that's true. I can pay Phil in points. All right. So not only can we take in these messages that we were looking at, this TWM message for objects, for messages like when someone sends chat, but we can also use a TWM message to do something like a status message. So when someone joins or leaves the channel, we're going to have a chat status. So let's look for those. That's are we in the same thing? Yeah. Status message. So what is status message, you might ask? So status message, we can go to statusmessage.swift. Take a look at what that is. That is just simply why am I not in Project Navigator? So that's under chat. Status message is a TWM message that contains a member and the member's status. So that's joined or left, obviously in this case, and a timestamp for when that happened. And we pass in the member and we pass in the member's status, and we get a date formatter to format the date for the timestamp, and we set the status. And those are being used in here. So we pass in either .joined or .left, depending on which one of these methods we are working with. And then the chat table cell has a bunch of different places where it can place a user label, a message label, a date label, and that's where those things would end up getting placed. So that's the basics for the channel events right there. And when a channel is deleted, as we saw above, so as we saw in the tutorial, it says that it is going to perform a segue to the general chat channel. So that's what happens when a channel gets deleted. So if you're in a current channel and the channel gets deleted, we take you out of that channel and we zap you over to the general channel. So that's cool. Joining other channels. So the application uses SW Reveal View Controller. We got a nice link for that in case we hadn't checked it out when we were going through the pods, but we did check it out, and we know that that's a sidebar, and it's being used in this application to create a list of the channels that have been created for that Twilio IP Messaging instance. And when you tap on the name of a channel from the sidebar, that channel is set on the main view controller. So let's take a look at let's see if we can find where that code is happening. So we have join channel. The join channel takes care of joining to the selected channel, but that doesn't tell me like where is that actually happening. And I think it's going to be in the menu. So menu, we have a menu table cell, and then we have menu view controller. I think we're going to be inside a menu view controller here. And when that loads up, we have some background images. We have a background view, so that's the red background, and then we have a refresh control. So I guess that probably means that this is pull. Yeah, how about that? So you can pull to refresh them. So that's the refresh control up at the top there. So that'll call refresh channels. That's what's happening behind the scenes when I pull down here. And you can see that the tint color is set to white. So we got a white refresh. And then the frame is offset in the X direction. So that's cool. We're setting a channel manager delegate to be the self. We saw that the channel manager will call some methods on its delegate. This is where that's being done from. It's being done from the menu. And then we call populate channels. Oh, that's cool. Loading cell for table view. That's neat. Channel cell for table view. This pulls out a menu table cell. And I believe I believe here this identifier we would find if we looked inside of the different this chat status table cell, or I believe this chat table cell right here is where that identifier is set. So if we look real quick in here, we can see that a chat table cell has username and date, message, like that. And what is the one that we were looking at? We were looking at channel cell, so that's a menu table cell. Man, I'm clicking too much here. Menu table cell.swift. I think it's going to be in main storyboard. We need the menu view controller. So we take a look at the menu view controller. Yeah, here we go. If we take a look at the menu view controller, so this is just a table view controller, roughly speaking. Sort of ish. So what is it exactly? It is a menu view controller, which is what we're looking at here, which is in fact a UI view controller that manages a table, and that's fine. If we go back to main storyboard, at that location, we see that there is a cell here for the channel name. We'll click on that, and now we'll find what I expected to see, which is the channel name identifier. Where is that going to be? Oh, we don't have the cell. The cell is here. So there's the cell. Click on the cell, and there's the identifier channel cell. That's the thing right there that was being referred to inside of menu view controller when it was grabbing the particular cell for table view. So it's grabbing that channel cell out of that storyboard and setting it to this menu table cell class. We grab the channel for that particular row out of the channel list that is inside of the channel manager. The channel manager is a shared instance object, so anywhere in the chat application you can get access to it. Again, that's what I was talking about when I was saying that this is production ready, separation of concerns. Why would you have more than one way to access channels when the channel lists are always going to be the same? So we have a shared channel manager, and we grab the channel list, and we grab the particular one for that row in the table. And we grab the friendly name from that channel. So whatever the friendly name was given to the channel, you could have a hyphenated channel name. So like you could have general -channel, but the friendly name might be general, capitalized, just general word. And if that exists, we set it to name. And that's cool. If let name equals channel friendly name, where name.is empty. So if the name is empty, we'll set the friendly name to be just the name. So we're doing some checking to make sure that there is a friendly name for the channel, and if there isn't, we set one on it. So that's cool. Nice little convenience error checking, potential error checking before we pass this off to the cell. Because if that wasn't there, obviously this channel name equaling friendly name, if it was empty, would be a big problem in the application. So that's a nice little error check that this does here, a potential error check. And then it returns out the cell. So that's cool. So that's each channel within the list. And populate channels is going to call channel managers populate channels with completion, in case they haven't been populated. We saw what that method looks like, so that's going to give us a channel list. And then when that is successful, we will, if it's not successful, we'll show an alert that says failed to load channels. It was successful, we saw that. We reload the table, which is the list of channels, and we tell the refresh control, stop refreshing. It's fine, we're good. The refresh controls just begins refreshing and then calls populate channels, which we just saw. Delete selected row, obviously this is going to get called when we delete a channel, so that's cool. Create new channel dialog. We saw that in the application when we clicked plus channel. So this is showing us an input dialog controller. Show with title. So what is input dialog controller? I'll use the shortcut that Sharps gave us to hop directly to that. Microsoft Internet of Things presentation. Sitting with... no, that's not rude. So this is new Microsoft, right? This is new Microsoft. I don't think it's rude. I'm sure if you told them you were doing that, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, Swift's open source. Like, we're cool with open source," because they are. They've been doing a lot of stuff with Linux, and I mean, I think the only downside is like they are still trying to push this Windows thing. But if you notice, they've recently been embracing the iOS type stuff. They want people to be building applications where people are actually using them. So they're not terrible people. I promise you that they're not terrible people. Disclaimer: I am a Microsoft MVP. But I don't just say that because I'm a Microsoft MVP. I think the open source Microsoft would be fine with you using whatever machine you want. In fact, go talk to Scott Hanselman sometime. I bet he's potentially rocking a MacBook. So believe me, there are plenty of people within Microsoft, especially in the web side of that market, that are using Macs day in, day out. So cool. That's that. What is next? So we're looking at the input dialog controller. So this is something that gets used for multiple places within this particular application, and it's just a UI alert. I think this is a util. What is this? Where is this? Yeah, this is under utils. So there's a bunch of different things that that we have access to underneath utils. I was just checking to make sure I'm streaming into the right category, and I am. Anyways, input dialog controller. This is something that we can pop up and show a UI alert view that gives us the option to save our channel information when we create it. We'll hop back into there. So that's that. We can prompt for logout. That happens from within this menu view controller that has the logout control up here. We get a prompt that says, "You're about to log out," and I can cancel that because I don't want to. Cool. That's what logout looks like. It just calls logout on the messaging manager. And then that'll present the root view controller, so we could see what that looks like. So I am logged in as Brent iOS. We'll log out. It's going to present the root view controller back to us, and we can log back in as Brent iOS and see what that looks like. So that's cool. We were able to get in and out of that. New channel button calls up that create new channel dialog, which we just saw. And there's some segues for going back to different channels. So there's a segue for open channel. So this is what happens when you tap on a particular channel here. So if we were to tap on a row inside of the channel list, this segue will get called, which is the TWC open channel segue. It grabs the index path out of the row or out of the selection, and then it looks up that row in the channel list, and it creates a channel main chat view controller, or actually a navigation controller is the destination. It sets its visible view controller as the main chat view controller and sets its channel equal to the channel that's being navigated to. So that's how the channel navigation thing happens. So that was joining a channel. We saw where that lives inside of the menu. How does creating a channel work? Spoiler alert. I should have spoiler alerted when we were looking at that. We just saw how that works. So we say create a channel, and then what gets called is from this create new channel dialog. We go there. This happens, and then when we get the text back from running that, the completion will grab the text, and it's going to call create channel with name. If it's default channel name, then we just run that completion that was passed in. If the channel list was no, we load the channel list and then run the completion. Or we create channel. If we fall all the way through to here, we create the channel with the friendly name, the name that was passed in that alert dialog, and then we run the completion. So if we went back to where this was called from, we could see what the completion looks like, and the completion, in this case, just does nothing. It doesn't really care. So it doesn't care what the It doesn't care what the methods were, it doesn't care what was passed in, and it doesn't actually do anything with it, so I believe that completion could actually just be set to nil in this case, because it's not a non-nullable thing. So we could set that to nil and it would be fine. But that's how creating channels works. We see that at this point. Deleting a channel. How does deleting a channel work? Deleting a channel is as simple as creating one. We use the UI table view hability. Phil, you want to put in a pull request here? We got hability. Ability to delete a cell. Once you figured out what channel is meant to be deleted from the selected cell index path, deleting it is as simple as calling the channel's destroy with completion. So how does this work? Well, if you're familiar with how iOS works, I believe it's just going to be a swipe. Maybe. Should be a swipe. Yeah, there it is. Swipe in. We'll delete the Twitch stream. And then it gives us a little delete guy. And we can see where that code is. If we hop back over to menu, we'll look for delete. Okay, so editing style. So when you want to do this little swipey thing in a table view, you need to handle the editing style for index editing style for row at index path. And you also need to have the can edit row at index path method from the table view delegate. And what you do is you say if the channel, if we can set a channel to the channel list at this row, then yeah, return as long as we're not equal to general channel. So like if we are, yeah, this is going to return true as long as the channel for that row is not the general channel. It's not going to allow us to delete the general channel. That always has to stay. So if we head back over here, I can't edit that row. So I can swipe as long as I want. It's never going to allow me to swipe there to get the delete control. But any of these other ones can be deleted. So I can edit this row at that index path. And what we're saying here is that what we want to do is we want to be allowed to delete this particular one. And we're checking to see if the editing style is not equal to delete, then we return. So we're not going to allow sorting or any of those other types of editing. We're only going to allow delete. And if it is delete, we're going to look up that channel and we are going to destroy it basically on the channel object. So we've got a channel from that row. And we're going to call destroy. And when the result comes back as a success, we'll reload the table. And if it doesn't, it's going to tell me I can't delete the channel. Which hopefully won't happen because we created both of these from in here. If I do this and I hit delete, I can't delete that channel. Why can't I delete that channel? Well, I'm not the owner of that channel. In fact, we created that from the browser version. We haven't looked at that in a while. But I created that channel over here in the browser. I can delete that from here, but I can't delete it from the iOS application. So that's cool. But I think I can delete this iOS channel. And I can't delete that channel either. Why not? You know what? This user probably just doesn't have rights to delete. I wonder what's up with that. I bet. Let's create a new channel. We'll call it foo. I think we found a bug. So foo got created. Notice foo got created. Yeah, but it didn't refresh. Sorting's weird. I deleted foo. I deleted iOS channel and I deleted foo. And they both disappeared over here. So I think we found a few bugs here. Foo went away, but it didn't do what we expected it to do when it was deleted, which is to reload the table data, which should have removed it from the list. So I'm wondering, there's clearly a bit of a bug here in the input dialog controller. We'll take a look at that. Maybe we'll take a look at that, or we'll pass it along to our friends over on the DevEd crew for them to take a look at. I'm going to pour myself some more coffee. If anybody has any questions about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what today is, why we're talking about tutorials, feel free to ask in the chat. I'm just going to do a little recap here real quick while we move forward. But this is Docs Week. We had a very awesome launch on Monday of something called Tutorials from Twilio. And these are fully production-ready samples of applications that you can build that you can quickly get onto your machine and get up and running. And they show you, as we've been seeing as we move through, they show you step by step how they work. And we're looking in particular at an iOS application that does some chat functionality. And that's the basic idea here. Phil will link up the Swift tutorial that we're going through if you want to follow along. We are on step 8 in that tutorial, and that was deleting a channel. Which we just saw might not work exactly as we expected. The channel was deleted, but we had some issues with it refreshing in the iOS app. And that might be something that we have time to take a look at as we move forward. I've got a little bit of green artifacting in my camera that we'll get rid of real quick. Cool. So that's that. Let's move to the next step. And there is no next step because we just finished the tutorial. If we had confetti right now, we would make confetti go on the application. But that's it. We implemented a simple chat application using Swift. And we thank everyone for completing the tutorial. If you have some feedback, you can tweet at Twilio to let us know what you think. I thought it might be interesting. There's probably enough time in this stream to run through the tutorial again. That might be worth doing. Running through it again with more quickness this time than last time. Or we could dig around in the code a little bit and add some features. I think what I'm going to vote for is probably digging around and maybe adding some features that are not there, and then maybe cutting shorter than usual for this particular stream, just because of the flow of the morning. But we're gonna stay on for quite a bit longer here. So let's do some features. Let's see what we can add. And I am going to pull up, just for sake of reference, I am going to pull up a blog post that I did to help us along in case I run into a thing. Phil wants confetti, man. I don't know. Confetti's cool. We could do some confetti eventually. What I would like to do though first is I noticed that the chat application, and if I could have some help from Phil on the general channel, Phil, if you could type into the general channel, we'll just say we're waiting for Phil. And if Phil types into the general channel, and I look at the general channel in my iOS device, ooh wait, Phil, oh no, we got a bug. We got a crasher here. Well, let's open that back up. Twilio chat. No, Phil. So we'll wait for Phil again because we crashed. Okay, so I'm back in. Notice that it automatically logged me into the general channel even after that crash. That was the storing of the username and the logged in property, as well as I believe the token into the NS user defaults. Yeah, Phil. So if you could type along with me again. Notice over here, Phil is typing. Phil is typing. Phil is typing. What do we not have over here? Oh, we don't know Phil is typing. That's no fun. We don't know that Phil is typing in our iOS app, but we know that he is typing in the web application. That means that the web application is implementing typing indicators, and our iOS application is not. And that's no fun. What fun is that? So we are using Slack text view controller in this project. We know that from earlier when we were going through it. And that has a feature in it for typing indicators. So we can see right here that when people are typing, we should be able to get a typing indicator into our iOS control. We should be able to add that pretty easily then to our project. I already kind of know how that works, but I want to go under the assumption, real briefly, that I don't know how that works and see how we would do that. So what it says here is that we need to insert a username to the typing indicator view when someone starts typing, and we need to remove them from the typing indicator view when they stop typing. And we can dismiss it at any time by calling dismiss indicator. So that's the basic idea there. What we need to figure out first is where we want to call this from. So I think I think what we need to do is figure out where typing can happen. That's step one. And then with that, we can send the typing function on the channel itself. So we'll head over to Xcode and we'll try to figure out where we might be able to see that text is being input. And I think that's going to be in this main chat view controller. And what we're looking for in particular is a text view did change method. And that is going to be on Slack text view controller. And that's this guy, I believe. SLK, is it SLK text view controller? I thought it was Slack text view controller for the shortened. What is this? Let's take a look. SLK text view controller. Yeah, it seems to me like they're using the Objective-C class here and not the one that comes from the Swift project. Let's see what's in this particular header. We can see that we've got the text input. Maybe that might actually be the prefix for these. What we're looking for here is the text view methods that we can implement. And I think what we're looking for in particular, there's the typing indicator view. That's the thing that we wanted to work with. Keyboard handling. We need text. I think it's text view. Text view did change. I don't remember where that is exactly. Text view requiring super. We need text view did change. I think that's in here. Text view did change. Oh, that's the only place it shows up. So I'm trying to remember exactly where this particular function that we need to override needs to go. I'm pretty sure it's in this view controller. So we'll take a look at main chat and see if that's something we can override. We'll scroll down a bit. We'll do override func text view did change. Okay, there it is. That's exactly what we need. So we need to override the function text view did change, and that's going to pass in a text view. And when that happens, so when the text changes inside of our text controller, so that's this text controller here, we need to call, let's see, we need access to our channel. So that's going to be channel right here. So text view did change. We'll do self dot channel dot what is the method? I believe it's typing. Let's take a look though. We'll dig in just briefly. We know that we need to call the typing. We need to call something that indicates that we're typing. So if we go to TWM channel and we take a look at its header, we can see if there's something that helps us out here. You could also go to the documentation. So there's various places you could go within the documentation. You would be looking at the TWM channel class in this case. Let's try to see if we can navigate there from the tutorial. Head back to the tutorial. If we go back to one of these steps that has the if we go back to the beginning, actually, if we go back to the intro, the IP messaging API is right here. We can do that, or we could go to docs for channels. If we go there, there's a guide, and we can see different things we can do there. But we actually want to look, I think, at the API docs themselves. So under docs, we could go to API/IP messaging 0.5/docs. That's for Android. 0.13 docs. And what we're looking for is turn this off. What we're looking for is something on channel. So we look at channel and we see a method here called typing. So here's channel. We want to know when people are typing in the channel. I'm going to guess it's this one here. And there it is. Indicates to other users and the backend that a user is typing a message to this channel. And the way this works, in a lot of chat solutions, and it's also the way it works in Twilio's chat solution. This is sort of like a keep alive kind of thing. So when you send this typing method, that triggers the typing indications on all chat instances, and then it starts a timer. And if there's no more typing sent over 6 seconds, then it clears it automatically for you. So there's no way to say we've stopped typing. It's just going to time out. That's the basic idea. And you can tweak that timeout later, but that's the basic idea. So cool. That's neat. So that's what we want to send. So if we head back to our chat channel at this point, and we go to our override, which was the text view did change override. In here, we want to get access to the channel that this main chat view controller is working with, and we want to call typing on it. So that means when we start typing, we're going to send a notification. Let's see, just for starters, let's see if we get typing notifications in the browser based on this method. So we'll do this incrementally. We'll make sure that things are working browser side for the notification itself, and then we'll add the indicator back to the application. Okay, so it's running. Let's head to the simulator. Ideally, when we start typing here, we'll get the same typing indicator that we saw popping up when Phil was typing when I start typing. And there it is. So we've got Brent iOS is typing. Eventually that's going to time out. I'm not typing anymore. Now I start typing again, and it starts typing again, and then it times out. So that stuff's working. So we're properly sending the typing notification to the backend server. It's updating all the clients, including Phil's browser. It would be updating your browser. If you want to join, go to brent.ngrok.io and join the chat, and you can start typing, and you can join the chat there and say hi. If you're enjoying the stream so far and you're not already a follower, please feel free to follow so that you know the next time I go live. But please participate here. I'm from Philadelphia. If you want to let me know where you're from, that would be great too. But what we're doing here is we're adding some features to our Twilio chat application. And right now we're working on typing indication, which we now have working in pretty much two places. So we saw when Phil was typing earlier that we could see him. We have Not Sharps. I'm going to bet that is actually Sharps. But Not Sharps has joined. That's awesome. Sharps is probably not going to toss us a follow because I think Sharps is already following. But hi, Sharps. I mean, hi, Not Sharps. Hi, Not Sharps. The cool thing is we have a bunch of functionality we can add to this thing that like I don't even have to worry about if I don't remember how to do it, because we can follow a blog post that I've written to remind me of how to do things. So that's cool. So we've got the typing indication working in the browser from our iOS chat. So when we type, we can see that I'm typing over here. If multiple people are typing at the same time, like if I wait for Phil to start typing or Not Sharps to start typing, and then I start typing, I wonder if the browser will show multiple people are typing, or if it's not smart enough to do that. So I'll just sit here and wait. We've got a stream delay. If I start typing, no, it overwrites. So we're actually going to get a nice feature added to the iOS app that doesn't even work in the browser. So if you noticed, what happened was I started typing over top of Not Sharps's typing indicator, and it overwrote it. So it went from Not Sharps typing, and then I was typing, and it overlapped them. So that's not cool. What we're going to get in the iOS version from Slack text view controllers, we're going to get multiple people typing at the same time indicators, which is cool. You're typing and you could see me typing. Yeah, that's true, but it's only one person at a time instead of the nice feature that we're going to get from Slack text view controller, which is seeing a list of multiple people. I don't know why we're getting a crash on me moving the simulator. I think I've got a simulator bug yet again. If you're a veteran of the stream, the simulator is not my friend. I think there's something wrong with the simulator on my machine because it does this seemingly every time. Cool. So what we will get here, when we're done. See, I don't know why it's crashing. All I did was literally drag the simulator to a new location, and I get a crash. I'm not sure what is causing that. That is something to dig into later. It looks like an accessibility issue. Something is not labeled right or something. So anyways, that's cool. Let's dig into the code and see what we need to add to get the typing indicators in our iOS application. So what we're going to want in this case, yeah, simulator doesn't want to be dragged around, so we're going to leave it alone. We'll let it be. And what we're going to do is inside of our main chat view controller, inside of main chat view controller, there is a method on IP messaging client for typing started. And that's what we want to take a look at. So I think main chat view controller at some point down here implements a delegate that might have this. So channel delegate. Does channel delegate have, let's see, we'll take a look at the documentation. I'm not sure if channel delegate has what we need. Back to the iOS docs. Oh, I already had it open, it's right there. Back to the docs, channel delegate started typing on channel. Exactly what we need. Exactly what we need. So if we head back to the code here, yeah, I'm not going to drag the simulator anymore. I'll make sure that Chrome is sized correctly. So we don't have that method in here currently for that particular implementation. So we'll add it right after this one here. What does that look like? That is going to be func IP messaging client. What are we looking for? We're looking for typing started. We'll just use completion here for that. And then we need a function for IP messaging typing ended on channel. So we get those two things right here. And what we're going to do with those now is implement the typing indicator view, insert username and remove username from that particular from those particular points. So we have a typing indicator view. Typing indicator view, we're going to insert the username, and the username is going to be, we'll notice we get a member passed in here. We are going to pass in their identity. So what we're saying is into the typing indicator view, which is going to be right above the text box in the chat application, I want you to insert the member that just started typing into your collection to show in that indicator view. And that's when they start typing. And when they're done typing, when typing ended, we would like to call that same sort of method, except in this case we want to remove that same username. So we'll remove identity. So what we get here out of this is when multiple people start typing, it doesn't really matter who it is. We're adding it to a collection inside of this typing indicator view, which we got from Slack text view controller. And it doesn't matter who stops typing, we end up removing them here as well. So if we run this, hopefully we haven't created any syntax errors or things that could get complained about. We take a look at our application and make sure that it continues to run correctly. And then we hop back over to my browser. And we get the browser sized. Oh no! We'll get the browser sized correctly. And we'll drag the browser, not the simulator. And then I will wait for somebody to start typing on the website. And then I'll start typing in the browser as well. Oh no! I didn't see it show up. I wonder if we're not triggering. Yeah, it didn't appear in iOS, so we may not be triggering this. Let's see. We hit the breakpoint. I'm wondering if the problem is because we're in this extension of channel delegate. If we don't have access to the Slack text view controller stuff up here, because of the way this application is structured, I'm wondering if we just don't have access to this typing indicator view the way we think we do, and ways we could get around that. If we say this is an extension of channel delegate and text view controller. No, we can't do that. That's not valid. You can only, let's see what that error is. Extension of type cannot inherit from class SLK text view controller. Right. So we may want to move these. This is done for documentation's sake, to have these methods inside of a separate place. For our purposes, I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up copying those out of here. I'm not sure exactly the best way to do this with Swift to still have access to all the stuff that was declared up there, including the Slack text view controller stuff. It seems like that should have worked because that's an extension on this class, which this class inherits from Slack text view controller. It should work. So I don't want to move that just yet. But what I'm wondering is if we are not getting access, we have access to it because I can see it's in scope, and we hit the breakpoint. So I'm wondering what exactly is happening when we hit that breakpoint. Let's see. Let's see if there's something else we need to do. Come back over to Chrome. I'm going to start typing. And we're not hitting the breakpoint. So that could be problem number one. Oops. Okay, so we've got problem number one. We're typing here. Typing. I'll even switch channels to make sure the other events are still working, which they are. And then typity, and we still get nothing. But we're probably still getting those. Phil, type in the browser. Let me just make sure that we're still getting it in the browser. Maybe something else is going on. If I type over here, no, it's still working in the browser. Okay, so we've hit our first snag. And I'm trying to figure out what the best way to work through this is. We are handling the right method for the channel delegate, which is this one. Oh, you know what? I bet you I know what this problem might be. Channel delegate. That's the right thing. Where are we setting that delegate? Let's see. Find delegate. Channel delegate equals self. So that's where we're setting the channel delegate. I remember there was something in the channel manager here for those same methods. So we saw those in here. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens here if we add that method, the typing started and typing ended, func IP messaging, typing started and func IP messaging, typing ended. If we add those here and we do this dispatch on main queue that we have here, right here, and we add those. I'm wondering what happens if we call that from here. If we call client, we want client typing. Nope. IP messaging client typing. Oh, that might not be the right place for this method. I think it is, though. IP messaging client typing started on channel. Is that only available? No, that's available in the IP messaging client delegate as well. So we pass in, what are we calling? Calling on the IP messaging client. Let's see what we can call on that. Self.delegate.IP messaging client. I want typing started. And this is going to be the client. Yeah, that's going to be the client. The channel is going to be the channel, and the member is going to be the member. I'm wondering if this right here will trigger downstream. I notice we still have an error, so I might be wrong here. Oh, we need a question mark there. And then we'll work through this. I promise we'll work through this. If self channels, then we can call that here, and we'll call it typing ended. I'm wondering if we need these two calls in here to trigger them working over in the channel, in the main chat view, because of the delegation. Not 100% sure, but I remember reading in the tutorial about delegation. Nope, that's not hitting it either. I'm not 100% sure why that would be the case, because we now have, let's see, we now have a couple places we can hit breakpoints. Maybe we're just not debugging anymore. I don't know. I don't see why on earth at this point now that we wouldn't be hitting here as well. Let's stop and build again. Make sure we've got freshest to freshest code. We may have to punt on this. This should work as we've coded it so far. This is totally the approach that you would take for this. What I'm not completely understanding is why we're not hitting this breakpoint in particular, any of these, when typing starts in this channel. We're sending the typing from ourselves. We're sending typing here, but we're not getting those events over in Xcode. So we keep digging. It should be this channel, and actually should be this main chat channel that we were working with before. I'm tempted to try moving the delegate methods up inside of here to see if that's the problem, but that really shouldn't be the problem. We're setting the delegate here to ourselves, which means that any of the delegate methods off of channel should be getting called here inside of this delegate right there. That's the channel delegate, but we're not getting that. So what it leads me to believe actually is that no, that doesn't make any sense. The typing indicator is being sent from the browser because we're seeing it in the other browsers. I was thinking that perhaps the typing indication wasn't being sent, so it wasn't being triggered here. But we know it's being sent because we've seen Phil typing in my browser, and Phil has seen me typing, and Phil has seen me typing from here as well. So we know that the web browser is sending the event correctly. We just don't know why the event is not being handled here, and that's what's bugging me. It should be getting handled here, and we should be hitting this breakpoint, but we know that it's not. Try changing to a different channel. Twitch stream channel, go to Twitch stream channel, start typing. Nope, no breakpoints hit. No breakpoints hit ever here. I'm bummed. This should have been the place to stick that code, and it should be hitting those breakpoints. I'm trying to think through if there's anything else that we might be missing in terms of hooking up these delegates correctly. But we should be able to see that because these ones will get hit. We know these ones will get hit. And we know that those were being triggered because we have assigned ourselves this delegate right here. We said from the channel, set that channel's delegate to self, which means that this class is going to handle all of the delegation events that come through. And that should allow us to see all of these other events that should be happening on our iOS device. So if we head back over, we'll give this one more try. I just want to make sure that those delegation events are working, which we are pretty sure that they are. That's load messages. So channel history loaded, we hit that one. We know that that's working. And then when we type in here and hit send, we hit message added. And then we run from there. When someone joins, we would hit this one. For the status messages, when someone leaves, we would hit that one, so we know that that's working. Do we have a syntax issue in how these are declared? I don't think so. Channel history is fine. Client channel deleted, it's fine. IP messaging client started, typing started on channel for this particular member. Nope, everything is declared just fine. But we're not seeing it happen. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to go iOS device to iOS device just to make sure that that's not the problem, but I need a cable, which I do not have sitting here. And I don't actually have one around, so I don't think we're going to do that either. I think we're going to move on. I'm going to do a recap on what we did for the tutorial, and then we'll see if there's something else we can add. Because this doesn't seem like it wants to work for me, and I can't think of anywhere else we could add that. We've added it to the other delegation points. I really think that something is happening where we're not getting a typing indication occurring at all. We could probably see that. I don't think anything's happening when I type here in terms of logs. So I don't think we're actually getting the typing indication coming through in the SDK. The only other thing I can think of is maybe there was a bug in this particular version of IP messaging that didn't allow that to work. So that's one thing we could try real quick. If we go to the pod file and get bold here, we can go to this here and change. What version did we get loaded when we did pod install? We got 0.13.6, and that is late enough that should be working, because I think that's what I was using originally. So that theory is busted, I think. So that's a bummer. Yeah, I think we're gonna drop that for now, and I'll figure out why that wasn't working, and we'll fix that on next week's stream. We'll get that typing indicator working. But we did get one half of that working. We are sending the proper notifications over to the browser if we're on the right channel here. So if we start typing here, we do see that that's working in the browser. So we did get part of that working. The self.generalchannel.typing thing was working, or self.channel.typing in our case was working. But we couldn't quite get these methods to fire, and I don't know if that's a bug or if that's something that I'm doing wrong. But I think that it's a bug. I think we could pretty easily test to see if it's because of project structure by doing this channel delegate, putting that up here. I don't think it's a project structure thing because everything else was working just fine. But for sake of argument, let's move these temporarily up into the other class declaration just to see if things are not getting picked up correctly. We'll move those functions down into here, and they should work fine from there. But I don't think that's actually the problem. If it is, shame on the project structure, but I don't think it is. I think something else is going on. We type here. Yeah, we're not getting those notifications at all. And that's a bummer because I don't think I had to implement anything else to make that work in the blog post when I first did it, because I used the IP messaging client delegate. Oh, that's the other thing. I guess I did. I used the IP messaging client delegate to make that work. In mine, I didn't use the client delegate. Maybe there's a bug there. IP messaging client delegate. Maybe we can handle those functions from there instead and see. The problem with that is that's the generic catch-all, which means that there's probably going to be an issue with how these override each other. But we can try that instead. We can try that instead of the channel delegate, just to see if it's a problem with these coming from different classes. I got a bug because I don't think this works. To type channel delegate. Oh, right, because this is channel delegate. We don't actually have access to the client in this window. So that's not going to work. This is where the methods should have come from. So I think we're just going to punt on that for now. It's not gonna work in this stream. We can't belabor the point too much further. I've had this working in other scenarios, but can't quite get it to work here. Let's recap what we've done, and we'll probably close a little bit early because I've got some stuff to get situated before later today. So what did we do? Well, at the start, I told you that we were doing tutorials from Twilio. This is the launch week for the tutorials from Twilio feature that we added to our documentation, which these are step-by-step tutorials that show you how to build production-ready, well-designed applications like this chat application we have been working with today, called Twilio Chat. And the tutorial that we were looking at in particular, we could find in the tutorial section of the docs all the way down at the bottom. We were looking at the IP chat tutorial for iOS Swift. And we stepped through all of the different pieces and parts of the code. We saw how the tutorial shows us the relevant sections of code. We saw how the GitHub repo under this Get the Code walks us through how to get things running, and that was cool. We walked through all the different pieces and parts of this code, and we got it up and running with the server-side Twilio chat version of the application. We used that server to request a token to allow our iOS application to connect to the chat instance. And then from there, it just works. So again, I hope you check out the new tutorials from Twilio. We have a bunch of people on our stream or on our team that stream regularly on Twitch, and that's at team/Twilio. We have a full schedule of people streaming this week that you can find in this live coding post that I'll link in now. That's all of the people that are streaming this week for the tutorials launch. Everyone is going to be doing something similar to what I did, where they will be walking through one of the tutorials that came from the stream, or from the team, from the developer education team, and they will walk through how to build a lot of different samples this week, much like we did here today with the iOS chat application. And again, I'm Brent. I am from Philadelphia. I work for Twilio as a developer evangelist. I stream at least once a week. Lately, it's been twice a week. But the second time that I stream, or the third time that I stream, or the fourth time that I stream will be a surprise. So if you want to get a notification to know when I go live, please consider tossing me a follow. Click that little heart in the lower left of your video, and that'll follow. It'll ask you if you want to subscribe for notifications, and that's how you'll do that from there. What I'm going to do now is I am going to find somebody else that is streaming that I can send you guys to, and then I will start hosting their channel right after that. Let's see if there's anybody programming anything interesting right now. We have someone doing some game development. We have some people doing mono game. We got someone doing a mono game side project. I think we'll send you all there. So this looks pretty cool. They're actually building a game that looks pretty neat, and I'll send you over to their, here is the link to where you can go if you want to continue watching. I am going to host that channel on my way out. Please feel free to go in and say hi to, I believe that is Schmelly Orc. But again, it's been great hanging out with all of you. I will see you next time, and until next time, happy coding.